a lot of, and this is gold smart, there a lot of the corn and soybeans, most of the corn that's grown, and that is grown by stripping the land of the forests that are already there, goes to feed cows and animals.
Yeah,
for
agricultural
slaughter.
animals. Yeah, yes, yes.
And that's done because a lot of people like to eat meat. It's also done because corn and soybeans make a lot of processed foods that are involved in the production of that. So, and the foods that these things create are also bad for you. So when these processed foods or meats that are made in a factory farm are eaten, it hurts you, but it also strips the land of its life, because I don't think you could grow a garden in most strips of farmland today that are generally used for corn. There's no nutrients or life in that. And so it's healthy for you, it's healthy for the world, and it also requires you to strengthen your resolve to eat things that are maybe not as tasty or maybe a little bit more bland. But it's good in the end, it's sacred.
Well, it is sacred. So our diets are sacred. Our food is what heals us. It's also what hurts us. It's just, that's the basics of it. But I'm going to tell you that in spite of it being made up a certain way, a lot of that has to do with the way you're taking it in. And so that's what makes it sacred and what doesn't sometimes. If your mind has a certain understanding of something, that is oftentimes more powerful than the three-dimensional thing in front of you that you're taking in. So one of the things I know as a practitioner is that if I have somebody sitting in front of me who has just been diagnosed with, let's say, cancer, and we're examining all the different options of how to treat this cancer. We can go the traditional Western way, we can go the Chinese medicine way, we can, there's so many different ways to look at it and decide. And the best part is, you get to decide. I mean, you can give up your power to your doctor, but you get to decide. How do you want to heal? And I'll tell you that the most important thing is that you believe it. So I may personally not agree with a certain type of treatment, but if somebody's sitting in front of me and they are certain that that is the treatment they are going to do and that is what's going to cure them, that's exactly what's going to work. And then what we try to do is support through diet, nutrition, understanding the vibration of food. Our food used to have a much higher vibration than it does anymore because of exactly what you're talking about, right? So what gets into our natural food that grows is the nutrients from the ground. And if the nutrients been stripped from the ground, then we're growing food that looks the same, doesn't taste the same, and it certainly doesn't have the same nutritional value, which is why a lot of, it's the main reason why we have such a debate about processed foods versus natural foods, and whether our natural foods are fortified or not, and whether or not organic is, legitimate. And it all comes down to Mother Earth, and has she healed enough to give us back the food that we need that heals us inside? And so that's a big one, is eating sacred, which leads to another piece of, when you sit down and you take your food in, how many of us eat mindlessly? In front of the TV, or even just in conversation with our families. But do we take the time to bless that food before we put it into our bodies? Even if I'm at a restaurant, it might even just be a moment, but I'm going to bow to that food and invite it in to help me heal whatever it is I'm eating, and to recognize that there's a source that food came from. Whether it was an animal, whether it was a plant, whether it was a factory, all the people that got it to me, how that all happened, there's effort involved in that. And I want to honor that effort. And then I started to become more mindful about, what all well, do I really want a bowl of cereal, or should I be eating like some whole grain bread or something different? How is this actually feeding my body? And we become aware of listening to our bodies more, then we can make changes that help us heal more from the inside out. And so there's the core spirit of us, and there's different windows to the inside, or different doors, if you will. So in my practice, I recognize everybody has, their spiritual side. If it's developed, you have it. Whether or not you've developed it, we explore that. You have your mental and psychological side. You have your emotional heart space. You have your physical body. And so when you show up, what are the symptoms? Oh, I'm having an ache here, I'm having this here. Or I just can't get away from the anxiety and the stress of things. I'm not sleeping. Or, I feel kind of spiritually lost. I'm not exactly, I don't feel grounded. I don't know, I'm in a transition in life. All of those connect into the same place, but which door is open for you? And so then we get in that way and start to explore what makes it important. Why is it coming out like that, and how do we bring you back to a healing space? So, any other thoughts on how you live sacredly? I know more of you do. So I'm going to give some suggestions. Consider the dialogue in your head. Okay, this is a big one. Consider what the dialogue in your head is. What do you think? How do you talk to yourself? Are you kind? Or do you criticize yourself a lot? Oh, darn, I should have done that better. Oh, I could have done this. Oh, I always do that. How kind are you to yourself? How forgiving? Do you honor yourself as much as you take yourself down? Do you lift yourself back up? If you can't do it for yourself, do you do it for others? Then you should be doing it for yourself too. So consider the dialogue in your head, because that dictates how the rest of everything flows. The comment I made about if you're diagnosed with something, I'm going to encourage whatever it is you think is going to heal you to work. That actually comes from a scientific study, that it really, on some level, doesn't really matter what the treatment is. It matters more how much you believe in it. That tells us so much about the power of our thinking, not just the power of our cognition and intellect, the power of how we talk to ourselves, the power of our relationship with ourselves. So consider that dialogue in your head. Do you live sacredly in your thoughts? Consider your intentions. Intentions are a powerful thing. If somebody intends to cause harm, if somebody intends to be mean or inflict pain, it's usually coming from a painful place themselves already. But what is your intention? Is it sacred? How does that show up? So sometimes we have good intentions, but the way it comes out still does harm. So how do I walk? How do I talk? Can I think a little bit deeper through that? I may have a good intention, but can I think a little bit more and say, is this going to hurt somebody, even if I play it out that way? And if it does, what do you do? Is it easy for your ego to step down and say, I owe you an apology. I'm sorry, I didn't intend that, but it happened, and for that I'm very sorry. There's a beautiful prayer called Ho'oponopono, saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. You can do that prayer for others. You can also do that prayer on behalf of others. So that's really powerful, because, if you know somebody in your life that's in pain and suffered maybe an abusive childhood or something, on behalf of the person that abused you, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And it doesn't even have to be out loud. The intention and the energy of it is very healing. So how do you walk? How do you talk? Are you thoughtful about those things? Are you sacred? Find purpose in your life. It doesn't have to be, what's my purpose here? What did God put me on the planet to do? What's my purpose forever? Do I have deep purpose? It's not even that. What's your purpose today? What's your purpose today? What's today all about? And is it sacred? Can you do it in a sacred way? Today I might be doing laundry and cooking for my family and running errands, but can I do it in a sacred way? Can I cook and put a lot of love into it? Can I do the laundry and be grateful that I've got this washer that makes so much noise, but I'm not hand washing my clothes? Can I talk to the person at the grocery store that maybe doesn't look so happy? Can I thank the cashier for being there and saying, I hope you have a very blessed day. Thank you for being here for me so that I could get my food. Can I live sacred in the everyday moments? That's purpose. That's purpose. It doesn't have to be huge. Can you contribute to the greater good? If all of us thought in a sacred way of contributing to the greater good, how would the world be different? This is very much a part of Native American culture. We didn't have this glorified capitalism, which I have a great respect for capitalism, I'm not criticizing that, but the competitiveness of everybody trying to climb to the top and being the very best you, is you being the very best you in line with the greater good of everybody around you? Or is you being the very best you, the competitive nature of kicking somebody down off the ladder and getting there before they do? Especially in our feminine culture, we've had this tough climb up the ladder, and there's a good movement going on about women talking about lifting each other up instead of being competitive with each other. That applies to humanity. I don't care what race you are, what culture you come from, what gender you are, what sexuality you prefer. I don't care. We're one. We are all one. We all come together in humanity. And so, is it for the greater good? That's sacred. At the very least, do no harm to yourself or others. And recognize how harm comes. It's not always the outward. It's often born in the dialogue. Are you harming yourself all the time when you don't give yourself credit and love? So that dialogue is really important. It's the deepest seed of it all. Do no harm to yourself or others. And remember that we're all one. The circle of life, the medicine wheel, the pipe, the tobacco tie, the sage bundle, all of them have a circle to them. They all come back to the one, as do we. Now, individuality is a beautiful thing. I love seeing your red hair and your gorgeous skin and your beautiful eyes, and they're all different. And we can really relish that, but in the end, when you can take away any of that, recognize who are you without that thought, who are you without that individuality, who are you? You are still spirit, you are still soul, you are still a piece of God, and you are still a piece of me, and I'm a piece of you. And I don't want to be hurt, and I don't want to hurt you. And if we can get to that place, then we're really living in a sacred way. And that is the seed of Native American spirituality and Native American ways and ceremonies. And I'm so grateful to just remind us of what we already know. All of us already know this. I might be adding a few seeds of a ceremony you didn't know yet, but you all know the message of this. I'm just here to reflect it and say it back to you so you absorb it differently this time, because it's Native American Heritage Month. And these are the things we can live with every day, but we tend to focus on them more in November. And I'm grateful we do, because it gives us the opportunity to tune back in and have gratitude. And gratitude, appreciation, and a deep-seated love for Mother Earth, for everything she grows and everything she gives us, for all the other beings, and for our Creator, is all called back together at this time. And so that's the purpose of standing up here and talking right now, is thanking all of you for being here and for being beautiful reflections of me. And I just want you to remember that you are amazing, and be good to yourselves and live sacred.